Hey everybody, welcome back to art class. For today's art lesson, you are just going to need a piece of paper and a pencil. A piece of blank paper will work best. You can use notebook paper if it's the only thing you have, but this will definitely be a big help. Now, before we get started on today's art lesson, I want to talk to you for a little bit about something called the elements of art. Now, the elements of art are 7 basic things that make up everything that we do in art. So we've actually already covered quite a few of them in the projects that we've already done this year, but I want to take a second to talk about exactly what they are and exactly where we have used them already this year. So I think the first and most basic element of art is line. Now, lines make up pretty much everything that we do in art, so pretty much every single project that we've done deals with the element of art, line. And if you think back to the very beginning of the year when we did our dots and when we did our names in bubble letters, that really focused on using lines and being able to control our lines to make artwork. The second element of art that I want to focus on is one that we just finished learning about, and that is color. Now, there's a whole lot we can learn about color. There's way more than just the fact that colors are in a rainbow or in a color wheel. There's lots of different ways we can group colors together, lots of different ways we can mix colors together, lots of different ways that we can talk and focus on color. The next element of arts that we have dealt with this year is space. If you think back to our landscape, our fall landscape drawing, we tried to create space or depth in our drawing. We wanted it to look like it was a three-dimensional drawing that you could walk right into instead of just something that is flat on your paper. So space is an element of art. The next one is another very basic one that we've dealt a lot with, and that is shape. Now, we haven't done a project specifically about shape, but shapes just inherently become part of our projects. So when we did our bubble letters, those became like shapes for us that we filled in. We had shapes on our color wheel last week when we had the circle, and then we divided it into the triangle sections. So shape is something that is just usually always a part of what we're doing in art. Now, a new element of art that we're going to talk about today and then work on in our drawing is form. Form means something that is three-dimensional, something that has volume, something that has length, width, and depth. Now, we are going to do a drawing today to focus on creating form on your paper. Now, this is like the main challenge of art, right? If we're working with a drawing, we start with a two-dimensional or a flat piece of paper, and the challenge is that we want to create something that looks three-dimensional. So what we're going to do today to try and create form on our paper is draw a piece of pumpkin pie. Hopefully you got to enjoy some pumpkin pie this year at Thanksgiving, and to commemorate that delicious pie, we are going to draw some. So the very first thing I want you to do is turn your paper the long way side to side like this. Now, I'm going to lead you through the steps of creating the pumpkin pie so that it looks like it has 3 dimensions, but a lot of times when we draw something that has form, a good rule of thumb is that we don't use lines that are like straight up and down. A lot of times we use angled lines to show that it is either going back in space or that it has some form. So the first thing I'm going to start with actually is a straight up and down line. I'm going to start like right towards the middle of my paper, and I'm going to draw a line that goes straight up and down like this. It's about the size of 3 or 4 fingers so that you can get yours just about the same size. Now, another huge part about drawing form is that we can't push down very hard on our pencil, because if we make a mistake, we'll have to erase it. And it's kind of tricky to get things to look three-dimensional sometimes, so you might have to do a lot of erasing, and I usually do too. So the next thing we're going to do is draw some diagonal lines that start at the top of this line and then go down. So I'm going to sketch it very lightly. The angle of this line doesn't matter too much, but as you can see, it gently goes down my paper like this. The next thing I need to do is draw that same line underneath, or starting at the bottom of my straight up and down line. And it's really important that you get that same angle. So I wouldn't want to draw my line down here like this, because that angle is way more twisted than my first one. I want to make sure that's the angle on the bottom is the same as the angle on the top. The next thing I'm going to do is draw a line straight up and down to connect this side of my pie right here. Awesome. So we should kind of have a diagonal rectangle look going on here. This is the side of our pie. The next thing we're going to do is the top of our pie. So I'm going to start right here at the right side of my slice, and I'm going to draw a diagonal line that goes up and creates a triangle. I'm going to twist my paper a little bit so it's a little easier for me. I might have to start up here. Awesome. I'm going to now draw another diagonal line to connect my pie up at the top. Now I drew this line way longer than it needs to be. This diagonal line right here is going to come across like this, and I can just erase the extra line that I had drawn. So this is the basic shape of our pie. We've got the side and we've got the top. Now we're going to add the crust. So I'm going to start on the left side here at the top, and I'm going to draw a straight line, and it's just going to follow the line that I already drew, leaving a small gap in between my pie and my crust. I'm going to come down and then do the same thing on the bottom. I'm just going to leave a small gap in between the pie and the crust. When I get to the end, I can go straight up and down like this. Now the last part of my crust is going to be the part at the top here. What I need to do is start my pencil up at the top of my crust line, and I need to draw a diagonal line that follows the same angle as my pie. So it's just going to come out a little bit, but it follows the same shape. You don't want it to go up and down like this, or like really over to the side like this. You want to make sure that that angle is the same. This helps us to create a form. Now the back side of my pie is just going to be some curvy lines to create a ruffled edge, and then when I get to the end, I'm going to follow this same angle to cut off my pie crust. Great job, friends. Only a few more things to draw left. So on the top of my pie, the best part, of course, is the whipped cream. I'm going to put my whipped cream so that it's sitting right on the top in the middle of my pie. So I'm going to start at the bottom, and it's a curvy line, and then I'm just going to kind of draw some curvy lines up into a point at the top. Whipped cream is always different, so it doesn't have to look perfect. And then as you can see, my pie line goes through my whipped cream, so I'm going to erase that part of it. Awesome, our pie is done. There's two things left we need to draw. One of them is the plate. Now we want to make it look like our pie is sitting on a piece of plate. Our piece of pie is sitting on a plate is what I meant to say, oh goodness. So we can't just draw a circle in the background, because that automatically flattens out our drawing. It doesn't make it look like our pie's three-dimensional anymore. We are only going to see the front side of the plate, because the back side of the plate will be covered by our pie. So I'm going to start my pencil towards the bottom of my pie on the left side, and I'm going to sketch an oval that comes down and around, and then it will come down. I have to make sure that it goes below my pie. I can't do something like this, because that would mean that my pie's now off of my plate. So I have to make sure it comes down below my pie, and then I have to make sure it lines up on the right side like this. My plate's a little bit challenged. There we go. All right, after you've got your plate, the very last step is going to be to draw a line for the table in the background. So on either side of my plate, I'm just going to draw a straight line like this. All right, friends, that is all for our drawing today. When you're all done, please take a picture and upload it to Schoology and hang on to this drawing for next week. We are going to add some color to it. Have a great week, and I will see you next time.